We're going to draw an isometric sketch of a housed joint. So that means a 3D sketch. The isometric part means we're going to be drawing lines at 30 degrees. So we're going to use vertical lines and lines at 30 degrees. Now roughly. So we're going to basically just start up here in the top right hand corner. You can just pick a point. We're going to start off with a vertical line and as close to vertical as you can get. And we're going to draw a construction line down. We're going to come back at 30 degrees. So that's why I'm using my 30 degree set square. I'm going to hold it as close to horizontal as I can across the bottom, meaning I should have a roughly a 30 degree angle going back in that direction. Flip it over and I should have a roughly 30 degree angle going in the other direction. Those are our three lines for the isometric drawing. If we're working with 18mm timber, so we'll draw a kind of full size sketch of it. I'm going to measure back about 18mm. And the timber would normally be 44mm wide, so I'll come back 44 this direction. So 44 by 18 is the size. And I'm going to create parallel lines. I've got a parallel line here, so that's my 30 degree angle. I'm going to roughly try and get it up as parallel as possible. I'm keeping an eye on the distance between the line and this side of the set square. If you don't have a set square, you can just use a ruler. Again, back the opposite direction and parallel. And I'm going to go vertical again, so straight down with these. And what I have is my vertical piece of timber drawn in 3D, so 44 by 18. I'm going to draw in the position of the house joint, so again parallel to these lines. So I'll take that line and I'll just move down here any distance, doesn't really matter, but I want to keep parallel to the top line. The timber was 44 by 18, so again I'm going to measure down here 18mm and I'm going to put another line on. So what I'm setting up is the position of where the house joint is going to be. This is where the joint is going to go together. I'm going to make use of this. So I'm going to take these three lines here, the 3 points, 1, 2 and 3, and I'm going to bring them off at 30 degrees. Again, here's my 30 degree angle. I'm going to come parallel to that. So I lightly take one off. I come back parallel to the other one and parallel with this one. And now what I've done is I've set up the position of horizontal rail coming into it. So I've got my vertical side, horizontal rail. I'm going to come back away from the piece. So back here, any distance at all, out here out of the way, it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to draw my construction line on and a vertical line. So all the lines are either at 30 degrees or vertical. And now I can darken in as a sketch the horizontal rail. So here is the horizontal rail. And I'm not drawing the line in one big go. You can see I'm doing the line in bits just to make it nice and straight and follow the construction lines that I have. I'm using a 2B pencil for this. So when you're sketching, when you want dark lines for a sketch, you'd use a 2B pencil. Definitely not a 2H. 2H for the construction lines. So that is my horizontal rail drawn in. Now I've got the outline of the joint, and the important thing is that the rail and the joint line up, so I can see the corners where they're going to go together. I'm going to set up the halving part of this, so where we take out the house, the trench out of it, I'm going to sketch that in. So back to my 2H pencil, and I'm going to continue this line back halfway, and this one back halfway. Roughly halfway, so I look halfway, it looks to be roughly about there. I'll draw my vertical line. So just where the trench is. Okay, I'll darken in some of it. It's not the finished sketch, but I'll darken in some of it so you can see what I've drawn. So I'm showing the trench taken out of the piece. Now I need to fill back in under here. So in other words, I need to make this 3D. I need to make the trench 3D. Using my lines, again my 30 degree lines, so here's my 30 degree angle, I'm taking it from this corner up here. Back in, and again my angle, and I'm coming parallel, and back in. And that gives me the bottom of the trench, and then the last part is I need to come vertical from here. So I'm always keeping an eye on the vertical line here when I draw this vertical line. So I'll sketch in the last part of that. And now that's showing my trench. I'll darken in everything so you can see the finished sketch. I've got the finished sketch of the house joint. Now I want to make it look a little bit more realistic. So we have end grain on the piece. End grain is shown with two lines close together, and we'll just show a little bit of a curve. So we'll draw a few pieces of end grain in the timber, maybe one more in here. There's also end grain here because I've cut a trench out of the piece. So I'll put some end grain in there. I'm going to put a couple of grain lines on the piece, so just a couple of light kind of arrows like that. So something like that. Same here. And we'll have a couple of bits of grain lines up here and on the side, grain on the side of this. I'm going to lightly colour the whole thing in yellow. And when I mean lightly, I mean very, very lightly. So I'm going to just very lightly go over it to try and give it a little bit of yellow. I'm not trying to colour it in like with a colouring pencil or with a crayon, I mean. It's trying to be as light as possible. So I'm going to do the whole lot of that now. And I'll show you what it looks like. So that's it, lightly shaded in yellow. I'm going to make in here just a little bit heavier, just slightly heavier, because it's down in the trench. It's back in there, just to give it a bit of difference. And then I'm going to use a brown colouring pencil and I'm going to highlight the grain with it. So here's my end grain highlighted. And these pencil lines that I put on, I'm going to lightly go over those. Very light, just so I can see them. Again, those pencil lines that I drew on, I'm going back over those. Just a couple of lines down the sides, and that is my house joint done. I could put dimensions in if I wanted to.